love ain't over. Popping all this champagne, popping all this rose, getting money like Jose. Chain gold, no way.
Wow.
You want that foreplay? I'm like, no way. Got rocks like Coldplay, killing it. Eating cheese like.
That shit hot. But listen, this is how we're gonna do it. Let's see if I can turn anything up. So basically, for the next hour or so, I've had my views on boxing for close to 3 years now. So for the next hour or so, I'm going to invite people in to interact. We're going to talk about some boxing. Maybe have a few chairs. I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live. It is exactly 4:02 Eastern Standard Time. Dana Garcia has knocked out Lightnin Rod Salka in the second round. Now, fans are obviously pissed off for various different reasons. Why? Because you got Lamont Peterson. Who is that making all that noise? You got Lamont Peterson taking on Edgar Santana, a fighter who a lot of fans didn't hear of. Then you got Dana Garcia taking on Rod Salka, a fighter a lot of people didn't hear of. So you ask yourself the question then, why isn't Dana Garcia fighting Lamont Peterson? That's the beef right there. Our Haymon fighters right now have a bad reputation, if you get where I'm going with this. And what I'm saying, hold up. Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? Say something.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. So basically, it's a situation where I'm doing these videos, and then I get a lot of comments and well, Al Haymon is helping these fighters. He's getting them their biggest paydays, but then they're not fighting each other. So let's talk about the 140-pound Al Haymon fighters. You got Dana Garcia, of course, the WBC, the WBA, and the Ring Magazine champion, 140 pounds junior welterweight. You got Lamont Peterson, the IBF 140-pound junior welterweight champion. Now, already right there, those are all the major belts in the 140-pound division outside of the belt that Joe DeGuardia Promotions, Chris Algieri has, which is the WBO belt. And we all know that situation, or you should know that situation with HBO and Showtime and the promoters and all that. So when you think about, you got these two fighters, one of them has majority of the belts, the WBA, the WBC, and the Ring Magazine, the most prestigious belts. Then you got the other fighter in the same stable. Then you got to factor in Adrian Broner and Lucas Matisse. So that's basically 3 belts right there. So the IBF, the WBA, and then the Ring Magazine and the WBC are all, big. The Ring Magazine and WBC are basically the same thing. So we're going to just leave it at that. But you got to ask yourself, these fighters are Al Haymon fighters, and what we've been seeing, going back to an example I used before, with when Golden Boy or they're announced a fight, you'll hear the first rumbling of such and such is going to be fighting on this day. For example, I'm going to use this example I used before. They'll say Keith Thurman and Lucas Matisse are fighting on April the 26th, which they did this year. But then we go to find out after getting ourselves all hyped up that they're not going to be fighting each other, which we know Matisse can fight, or Matisse can fight at 147 pounds. But Keith Thurman is the bigger fighter who is actually a big 147-pound, but a small 154-pound guy. So the point I'm trying to make is what we noticed with Golden Boy and, the Al Haymon fighters fighting under the Golden Boy banner, what we've noticed is that you'll get Keith Thurman and Lucas Matisse, both Al Haymon fighters, on the same card, but not fighting each other, fighting somewhat lower tier, fighters, and no disrespect to John Molina and Julio Diaz. Then you'll get another card, the Mayweather Maidana card, where you'll have Adrian Broner, Amir Khan. Adrian Broner no longer was fighting at 147 pounds. Amir Khan was pretty much, he's still kind of fresh at 147 himself, but they didn't fight each other. Then you got another situation where this fight right here, this card right here, where they say Dana Garcia and Lamont Peterson is going to be fighting in the beginning of August. So what do we start thinking in our heads? They're going to be fighting each other. But then at this point in time, we should know better. Because that's 3 different times right now. The April 26th card, Keith Thurman and Julio Diaz. The Mayweather-Maidana card when Adrian Broner and Amir Khan didn't fight each other, which could have damn well sent that card over 1 million buys, but you'll never know unofficially. This card right here with Danny Garcia and Lamont Peterson, fans feel is just a big smack in the face. Because how are you going to have those 2 guys? You know we want to see that as fans. How are you not going to have them fight? So now looking at a card coming up in the future, the September 6, 2014 card, what do we see again? We see Lucas Matisse, a 140-pound fighter who's going to be fighting, what, Mike, I forgot the guy's name. Anybody know his name? What's his name?
Ortiz.
Ortiz? Mike Ortiz?
I don't even know.
I should be knowing this stuff, but I'll figure it out. But the point, hold on, let me turn this up so I can hear y'all. But the point I'm trying to make is, like, you see the pattern here? So you got the September 6th card that's got Adrian Broner versus Emmanuel Transformer Taylor, and then you got Lucas Matisse versus the Ortiz guy, and you thinking like they doing it.
Robert Ortiz.
What'd you say?
Robert Ortiz.
Robert Ortiz. There you go. So when you think about the pattern of what we're seeing, and if you're starting to listen to the fighters' post-fight interviews, you can sense that they like, yo, it's not in my hands. Al Haymon picks my fighters, but they're not. Up until recently, Danny Garcia has been taking so much criticism to the point where he just said, listen, I don't pick my fights, just line them up and I knock them down. And I understand that, but still, where is the days where fighters say, no, I'm not fighting that fight? For example, no matter what you think about the Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Erislandy Lara outcome, Alvarez did something monumental as far as this era of boxing, as far as making sure, listen, fans say I'm scared of him, I can't beat him, I'm going in there. And even if you think that Lara won the fight, I think Canelo won the fight, but I can see how people, but what I'm trying to say is that even if you see the outcome of that fight, however you see it, it was a very close fight, and no one thought that Canelo would either win or even be in that close of a competitive fight. Simple as that. So right now, that was pretty much my introduction. I'm gonna chill because I had a little asthma attack earlier. I'm all that people run their mouth. Welcome to TstreeT Controversy, TstreeT Controversy live streaming. Just no homosexual slurs and all that stuff. Keep all that stuff off my show. Or like you're gonna get booted. Simple as that. I don't want to go into that. So don't say the F word. Y'all grown. You should pretty much know what and what not to say. And if you do try to do it, I'm gonna hunt you down, social media wise, and I'm gonna give you a verbal lashing or a written lashing. So anyway, what's up? What you want to talk about? Where are you from? Who are you? They're gonna say something? Let me see. Let me turn y'all. Cause listen, I'm here for another.
What's up, TstreeT?
What up? What's up? What's poppin'? I'm here for another 50 minutes. Then I'm going to bed. I gotta work tomorrow. So I look at it like this. This is the question I have. How confident are you with Al Haymon's future? Like, supposed path, people saying he's like basically people are saying, yo, 2015 is going to be the year for Al Haymon. It's going to be him, Richard Schaefer, Mayweather Promotions, and then they're going to have this exclusive, sports streaming deal. We're hearing all this stuff, but as it stands right now, I'm going to say the term, as what it is. Fans are feeling like they're getting fucked. Now, I have a Showtime subscription. It is my job to have a subscription to Showtime and HBO. So what I do, I got to watch all these fights, and I got to cover all these fights. It just has to happen. But people want me to... Go ahead. What you say? What you say? But people want me to be all mad and drop my phone. People want me to be all mad and all. Fuck my chair. We're live. We got it. People want me to be all mad. They want me to be like, listen, like Danny Garcia is a cherry picker. Danny Garcia is, picking the easy fights and all that. Regardless of what I do, I gotta cover all the fights. It's not out of my hands if you really think about it. It's part of my job. So even the worst type of nastiest fights, you know, like when you watch a Guillermo Rigondeaux versus Joseph Rebecca, when you're watching fights like that, you know, you tend to go into a zone that's like, well, you know what? I'm just going to find something good to watch about that fight. So I had to give credit to Rod Salka because, listen, when you look at guys like that, you have to ask yourself, okay, well, you know you're going to watch the fight anyway. People are pissed off at the card, but I guarantee you the ratings wasn't that bad. Now, to me, it was a horrible card. All the fights were stopped early, as they should have been, but even though they were impressive knockouts, you have to look at, well, impressive knockouts of who? And that's what it was. Like, Lamont Peterson was supposed to look that good against Edgar Santana. Danny Garcia was supposed to knock Rod Salka out early. It was supposed to happen because, listen, if he didn't do it, you know what I was going to do? Like I said, listen, I had my cherries ready. You know, like, if that fight would have went to the 12th round, I would have been like, what's going on, Danny? You know, I'm a fan. I'm realistic, so I'm going to ask the realistic questions. I'm going to be like, what's going on? Like, why didn't you knock him out? Because now it's making the whole Mauricio Herrera thing look way more and more suspect. And then, you know, you ain't rematching Amir Khan or Lucas Batista. You know, there's a lot of unfinished business right there. We might as well count Mayweather completely out of the deal. You know, but I'm losing my breath, man. I'm talking too much this late. Let me see if I can figure some questions up here. What the hell are you listening to, man? Turn that off. I'm not gonna hear that. But turn that off. But listen, you know, I got like nice musical taste and all that, but you know, it's just like
my girl trying to watch some TV.
All right, I guess, you know.
Good excuse.
But
She's sitting right there.
Well, somebody talk about the card. I want to see your girl, yo. Somebody talk about the card.
The card was whack.
No, I mean, how was it whack though? Like, this is a situation where I want you to understand, and I'm saying this humbly, is that this video is going to be viewed by thousands of people in the long run. So I want. It may sound kind of I want everybody to do videos. You know, yes, it's kind of competitive, but I'm confident enough in my skills. I want everybody to do videos because, see, if we take over social media and start ordering these fights, you know, to happen or not to happen by clear outrage, like if you go look at, God damn it, turn it off. Like, yo, listen, I'm trying, but listen.
No, I'll shut it off.
Volume down, bro. I gotta turn the volume down. So you know. But listen, and I won't have to. I can totally mute your ass, but I'm trying to be nice. Listen. See, I forgot what I was talking about, man. I forgot what I was talking about. But basically, let me tell you this. Listen, I'm gonna be doing this after every single major fight. If you didn't know, I'll talk about it now. You know, I formed an alliance with a website called Real Combat Media. They cover all international boxing news, mixed martial arts, jiu-jitsu, and basically anything in sports. So if you don't know anything about that website, they have like hundreds of interviews with guys like Roy Jones, the Mayweather family, you know, everybody. So people used to ask the question all the time, like, well, TstreeT, when are you going to start doing this and when are you going to start doing that? I understand the situation. You know, there's a lot of like controversy between, like, you know, what happened with me and Into the Arena. Man, those guys are on good terms. I mean, yeah, when something like that happens so abruptly, you know, you're going to have to step back and be like, oh, let me, you know, make sure I handle this carefully, because trust me, I was pissed off. But at the same time, if you go back and watch the channel, I'm still there. So as far as this solo venture is concerned, I'm completely 100% in control. You know, as far as the interviews, you know, with the help of Real Combat Media, we're going to be moving forward and doing bigger and better things. My commitment to moving forward and covering boxing and getting to the events. Like I said, you know, like, I be feeling like I'm just in the box, yo. You think I just be want to sit here and just do videos all day? You know, like, I got shit going on in my personal life, but at the same time, you know, I got things in place to move forward. So these next couple of months, I'm going to be moving a whole lot faster. So once I get past this Mayweather situation, you know, I'm trying to get my stripper here on the 30th. That's when the first episode of All Access comes on. You know, so I'm trying to get her that night. But see, I'm trying to figure out how to do it because I'm gonna tell you right to your face. Listen, I want to like push the boundaries of YouTube. Now, what I'm gonna do is she gonna open the video up dancing. I'm gonna talk about some boxing. You know, she gonna do 3 songs. You know how you go to the strip club, they dance to one song. First song is gonna be real ratchet. You know, she gonna be shaking her ass and talking about. I want to push the limits of YouTube to the point where I almost get shut down. But they say, yo, what the fuck is going on? What is this? And I want and the reason why I want to do that is because I want to have a different show. People say, why won't you go try to work for this person and all that? Or you want to do this, you want to go to ESPN and all that. Nah, man, like why? I'm not going to be myself. Look at Showtime and look at Brian Kenny and Al Bernstein and even Paulie Malignaggi on Showtime. Paulie Malignaggi can say what he wants off of Showtime. But on Showtime, he can't, say the real shit. They just got around to the point where they're mentioning boxers from other networks because they have to. When you talk about when you got to talk about Peter Quillen and Sergio Martinez, you got to acknowledge the politics. That's as far as they go, though. But they won't talk about the real shit about, like, when you go to Danny Garcia Instagram and what do you see? Nothing but cherries all over the goddamn place, to the point where I started snapping because people putting cherries all over my pictures. So people who don't watch boxing that's following me on Instagram, they're like, yo, T-Street, you some type of freak or something? Why you got men putting cherries on your page? But, I'm just frustrated because, see, I watch so much boxing, and then if you watch so much boxing, you start to see a pattern of what's going on, to whereas you can literally start predicting fights, because it's the same shit constantly, consistently going on. The Mayweather situation, the Mayweather surprise. What is the Mayweather surprise really going to be? He with Mayweather Promotions fully promoting his own self. People are talking Pacquiao. I almost got fed up in it a little bit. I got faith in the fight, but if you got right now Bob Arum of Top Rank, and Bob Arum is a very powerful. People forget how powerful Bob Arum is. He doesn't have a contractual agreement, from my understanding and my research, with HBL. It's a verbal type thing because Bob Arum has been around for centuries. He's put on big fights with Marvin Hagler, Hearns, Ali, Foreman, all-time greats. So when you got him and Oscar De La Hoya and Cotto right now, Cotto's not officially signed to Top Rank, but from my understanding, he's going to be working with Top Rank for the next 3 fights, and 2 more fights and with Freddie Roach as well. So it's basically signed and sealed that he's going to be working with, Bob Arum for this fight at the end of the year, whoever it's going to be, and it's not going to be on pay-per-view. And next year they're planning on taking Cinco de Mayo with the Mayweather. So when you think about Canelo versus Cotto, and then Mayweather fighting whoever he's going to fight, where's the room for Pacquiao if Bob Arum is, See what I'm saying? So you got to use simple logic when it comes to that. So when it comes to, Miguel Cotto and his next fight, you got to really pay attention to that because I believe it's in December. Canelo, I know him and Canelo fight a month apart. I don't know who fights in November or December, but the point I'm trying to make is you'll start to see the storyline like being put together. Then also you got to look at, well, let's see what arena they reserve or date they reserve, because that's the first step. Is like you got to watch for when they reserve a date, and then that date you can get the location, and that's how you know. Oh, they really serious. They're really serious. They really like want to put this event on. So I'm not going to be talking about Pacquiao versus Mayweather in May of 2015. Until this Cotto situation is over, because it's totally illogical just to think. Like when you got Bob Arum saying, yeah, we're going to get Cotto, on that date. And Cotto not the type of dude that you just lead down a path like that, and don't have intentions on doing so. So as far as that's concerned, will Mayweather fight Pacquiao? I get tired of doing videos just like everybody else, but I feel like this. If he's not going to fight him in the next 2 fights, I don't think he'll fight Pacquiao in a final fight. I think it'll be a fight before his last fight, just in case it has to be a rematch or something like that. But we're not here to talk about that. We're supposed to be talking about Danny Garcia. That's what we're supposed to be talking about. Because, see, I'm still a Danny Garcia fan regardless, because like I said before in previous videos, when I looked at the resume, I knew Mauricio Herrera wasn't what fans were calling him a bum. I knew Danny Garcia wasn't going to knock him out. You know, so I don't know where fans were getting that from, thinking he was going to really go out there and stop him. You know, so when I look at the fact that he fought him, and I was like, oh, shit, he's fighting Herrera. Herrera's going to outwork him. You know, I said, Danny's got to go out there and he's got to be aggressive. This is Danny Garcia was focused. This Danny Garcia that fought Rod Salka. Despite what you think of Rod Salka, Danny Garcia's punches were crisp. And he went out there and he was a complete puncher and he cut off the ring. He was more aggressive in this fight in those very might as well say short rounds because it was over so quick. He was more aggressive in this fight than he was in the Matisse fight. The Matisse fight, he was more calculated. But as it stands right now, you know what? I want one of those chairs. Oh, you know what? No, I'm going to hold off. I'm going to hold off. You know, I'm just, like, honestly, I'm sick of the politics because, see, they try to pull, like, the, like they openly try to dick us around. You know, like, we don't know what's going on. Like, in the day and age with social media, you know, you can't figure stuff out. There is no reason in this day and age that Danny Garcia and Lamont Peterson shouldn't be fighting on this same card. There is no reason why. Now listen, there's no reason why these two fighters should not be fighting. Why? Because they're under the same promotional company, whether they're with Danny Garcia, from my understanding, has a Golden Boy contract. He is a Golden Boy fighter, but he's managed by Al Haymon. Lamont Peterson fights under the Golden Boy banner, whether he has a promotional contract with them or not. Why can't the fight happen? They said, well, you know, the deal couldn't get done. Go check out Lamont Peterson interviews before the fight. Go check out Danny Garcia interviews before the fight. So you ask yourself the question, okay, the deal couldn't get done, but then tonight you have in different post-fight interviews, both fighters saying, well, if the other side, you know, if the other side agrees, then we can agree, you know, then we can come to a deal. And it's like, Al Haymon picks our fights, and it's like, how is it not going to, who are you predicting for Cotto's, Canelo's next opponent? Hold on, somebody asked the question, who are you predicting for Cotto and Canelo's next opponent? I'm going to get to that. But when you look at, like, they're on the same card, they're not fighting each other, like, how are we supposed to accept that? And the fact is, the only way we can stop accepting it is just simply just talk shit. You know, go to social media, go to Twitter, go to Steven Espinoza. Believe it or not, Steven Espinoza, the head of Showtime Sports, is very active on Twitter. The great Pack Dart Slayer is captured, Joe. What the fuck? Anyway, see, oh, I forgot. You know, see, me doing this. Me doing, what is going on? What is this shit? Nah, seriously, I'm wait, open
sesame.
What the fuck is this shit? Anyway, listen, I don't know what's going on with this shit, but listen, I'm kind of new, you know, to the Google Hangout thing. I've been learning each time, but now I wish I could show you my setup, but everything's down now, you know, so I'm gonna be doing my shows on time. But I just look at when you got Adrian Broner, like I said before, Lucas Matisse, Lamont Peterson, who else at 1-4? Who might as well say who else at 1-4? All the main guys are not fighting each other. But then when you look at a guy like Marcus Maidana, you know why he gets signed to Al Haymon? To lose to upper tier Al Haymon fighters. You know, and like I said, this is all stuff you should be knowing or you should know. Yo, can y'all hear me still? Like somebody messed up my man. Can y'all hear me still?
Yeah.
Cool. Trying to figure this out.
I can't connect them, man. This just connecting me.
But I'm gonna answer that question about who Cotto gonna fight next. See, Cotto, you know, that situation with Cotto.
Yo, y'all hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. You too loud.
Too loud?
Yeah, you too loud. No, you clear, but you cool. Maybe it's I gotta turn my shit down. But I don't consider Cotto to be a real 160-pound champion. You know, I look at Cotto to be the type of guy that if they say he's moving up to 168, he'll like catchweight or Andre Ward to like 161.5. You get me? You know, when they're talking about Timothy Bradley versus Cotto at 154.5, it's like 154.5. Timothy Bradley is a big dude. You know, when he's not when he's not fighting. You know, he puts on a lot of weight. He has to cut a lot of weight. You know, and then if I'm correct, in the amateurs, he fought Andre Ward at 154. So he can fight at 154, but you know his power won't carry up to 154, my prediction. But him a fight with Cotto for that 160-pound belt at a catchweight of 154, what if Timothy Bradley wins? Then we're going to be talking about Timothy Bradley versus Golovkin. You see how ridiculous this is? I feel that he should drop the belt if he's not going to fully stay at 160 pounds, because they're talking about Cotto, which I didn't mention before, Canelo and Cotto at 154, but not for that belt, because for some reason Cotto wants to stay close to that 154-pound division, and Canelo doesn't want to fight at 160 pounds. You know, it's such a confusing situation. But like I said, if you watch a lot of boxing, you know, you can start to really understand and really start to visibly see like what is going on. You know, and it's coming to a point like where it motivates me to be a boxing promoter, because I can't, you know, you can't have that shit. Fans, what do they want? They want to see that it's not about, they want to see fights. It's not about records. You know, it's not about winning and losing. You know, boxers are, it's gotten to a point where we know boxers have to be compensated. We know boxing is a business. But it's gotten to a point where boxing is too much of a business. You know, boxing's become too much risk over reward, or vice versa. You know, boxers are not fighting the best, and they're ducking and dodging questions, you know, and they're listening to their managers and promoters. And if the rumors are true that Danny Garcia got paid $700-something thousand, Rod Salka $125,000, Brandon Rios got paid $900,000 plus, Diego Chavez $25K. People have been saying, well, why Diego Chavez only get $25,000? And don't forget, he missed weight too. But I look at it like this: maybe we don't know how much it cost or how many strings had to be pulled to get him over here in time for the fight to avoid a Carlos Molina versus Jamel, you know, Charlo, or the Charlo brothers. Like a situation like that with Carlos Molina right now. If you don't know Carlos Molina, and no, not that Molina, the IBF 154-pound champion Carlos Molina, he's fighting Kenan Bundrag in Mexico, like I talked about on Into the Arena, because he can't even fight in the States no more. So, well, at this point in time, so you got to think what strings had to be pulled to get Chavez over here to the States. You know, but like I said, man, I'm sick of running my mouth. Yo, I'm going to go get some fucking Oreos. I'll be back.
Oh, how Haymon thinks and this and that, like they say. I mean, come on, man. The fighter has a say on this. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's your legacy at the end of the day, so you should be able to pick whoever you want to fight. You got cherries right there?
No, I'm about to get a little ratchet, but just had to taste some Oreos. Where it's 2% milk. I'm on some healthy shit now. But, man, so I'm going to switch it up a little bit since we are exactly a half an hour in. So I'm going to be here next week, and you know, I'm going to build up a bigger crowd, and I'm going to see, this is the reason why I do the show so late. Because this is a time where you can really capture all time zones. For example, over in the Philippines and Malaysia and all that, it's something like closer to 4 p.m., you know, 5 p.m. or so. In the UK, it's the morning time over there, early in the morning. In the United States, if you went to the fight, you probably just got home about an hour or so. You know, you're probably just going to be going into bed. You know, there's a reason why I picked this time. So, and I noticed what happens is with my Google Hangout videos, I keep them an hour long, because you don't want to keep, you know, like, I mean, I got no problem with it personally, but I can't see myself just sitting up here for no 3-4 hours unless it's like some real shit going on. So, you know, before I get to the what I'm going to move on to next, which is next week, Kell Brook versus Sean Porter versus Kell Brook, which is just so much shit to talk about with that. I'm going to just explain the concept of the show. So these Google Hangout shows, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go the same route as other people do. I have another phone line I'm going to use. I'm going to have people calling in. I'm going to invite boxers to Google Hangout. To spread the word. Preach what they want to preach. Later on in the future, I'm going to have guests, whether it's women, and my ultimate goal is that as soon as the fight goes off, I'm talking about 20 minutes after the broadcast goes off. I'm talking about when they play that that Showtime music. All my videos are going to be Google Hangout. Like, that's the goal, completely live videos. Because if you don't know, what I do is, I'll be watching the fight, like right here waiting, and then all of a sudden, as soon as they finish, I get right up here and I click record, and then I shoot my video. So even though they're uncut and they're unedited, still it's not live. This is really live, and this is exactly what I want to be doing moving on in the future. So a lot of people, what I noticed is it's a mystery behind Kell Brook. I forgot how many wins he has. What is he, 32-0 with 22 or 24 knockouts? Long story short, when you look at his record, that's what I got this for. But hold on, give me a minute, man. I've got Oreos in my hand. Kell Brook.
According to Wikipedia, as skill princely Reed Brook the
Yeah, 32-0 with 22 knockouts. Oh, I got a cool ass feature on here. Hold up, yeah, I got a cool ass feature. Let me see if I can do it. And what I want now, if you don't know what we're talking about is right now we moved on. We're talking about Kell Brook. I'm trying to down. So let me see, where's it at? Chat, screen share. There we go.
I keep disconnecting. I'm not sure what's going on.
All right, look. So do y'all see what's on my screen?
Porn.
What? What do you mean? What? What do you mean? Nah, dude. Do you see the Kell Brook record?
Box record.
Yo, we see it. We see it.
All right. So now look. Now, so you see where the top? Do you see where it says Sean Porter at? Like basically, do you not like? Do you see the box record, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we see it. It's kind of blurry, but we see it.
All right. Well, so basically, this is Kell Brook's record. So if you go all the way down to the beginning, you see him fighting guys like, I'm starting at the bottom, a guy who's 31 wins, 189 losses with 10 draws. You have to ask yourself, doesn't anyone in your family care about you to tell you, yo, you got 189 losses, I love you, quit. His next opponent, 0-2. His opponent after that, 12-46. His opponent, 24-139. Oh yeah, he's got 7 draws, 16-77, 2-5, 11-80, 12-85, 13-97, 3-26, 2-16, 11-58, 20-7, 2-9, 8-12. Oh, he's got a 15-1. He fought a Barry Jones, who was 15-1, who was 15-1 at the time in 2008. He's got a 25-5, and then that's when he started fighting, some credible fights. But if you look at his overall record, this guy has been the #1 contender for that IBF title for 2+ years. He kept coming down with injuries, and then keep taking these tune-up fights, and then the whole Carlson Jones debacle happened. But let me get this off of here. What is going on? There we go. There we go. But I just think that what?
Keep that disconnect. What's going on?
I don't know, man. It's not me. Everybody else getting disconnected?
Nope.
Yeah, correct, boy. My bad is rude.
That's it.
Hmm.
I'm dropping like every 2 minutes. So I can't see you moving. I just see a still picture.
Oh yeah, yo, you gotta get with your connection, bro. I don't know.
Yeah,
Anybody
man.
has problems?
You gotta
But
stop paying more than $20 for internet.
yeah, but I got it's like the Cal Brook Sean Porter fight. See, Sean Porter has just become this knockout guy. You know, and it's not that it wasn't always there. It's just that, like, with all the controversy going on with this drug testing, I don't think that any fighter, like, you should just say automatically yes. It shouldn't be no questions. And then in this day and age, you got to go to the media and you got to tell the media, like, listen, I agreed to drug testing, period. Look, like, I signed up and all that, because there's so much speculation, man. And with these fighters, I just learned that, you know, it's hard to believe anybody these days, because they'll be, you know, like Pacquiao. I explained it in the video before. How am I going to say, no, this is the terminology I used to use. He fucking other bitches. He drinking. He probably was getting high with Boo Boy and Tito Ness. And if I'm going to say that he's doing all this reckless shit, why would I not believe that he probably said, you know, I'm not going to ask what's in that drink, Ariza. I know it's probably suspect, but I'm not going to ask. You know? So when people ask me, do you believe that Pacquiao did something? Yeah. You know, because when I look at the other things that he's done, it's hard to believe that he didn't. Like, why would he say no? Yeah, I'm going to cheat on my wife and I'm going to do all that stuff. You know, but now, you know, but I'm not going to take no needles, no. Now, you have to also look at the other end of the spectrum, where why does Floyd Mayweather not fight outside of Las Vegas? Floyd Mayweather can fill up Dallas Stadium or many other stadiums around the world. People don't like to talk about Xylocaine, or people don't like to talk about the situations with his medical records. And don't give me the crap about, what is it, HIPAA and all the regulations. Al Haymon is a very powerful man, and I have information, you know, that you can go out there and find yourself if you dig enough to know that Mayweather's medical records is super, super secret. Remember All Access, not All Access, HBO 24/7, I think it was when he fought Ricky Hatton. When he went to see the doctor about his hands, and he used to have to put his hands into like that wax cast, and even on All Access for Canelo, you see that he's always got to keep his hand on the, you know, stretching and moving his hand. There's a video, I don't remember which one it was, but he was in this is when he went on his trip to excuse me. He went on his holiday vacation. I don't know if he went to Japan, or I don't know if he went to you know, China or whatever. But the point I'm trying to make is he buying some jewelry and he eating like chicken, but he got like this carpal tunnel thing to where is it if he like he eating this chicken, but his hand is like, you know, like all fucked up. But the point I'm trying to make is there's a deep secret about Floyd Mayweather that a lot of fans don't really deeply pay attention to or investigate, and that is the issue with the hands. Whenever he's tried to knock someone out recently, what has he done? He's hurt his hands. The gloves that he wears are special, orthopedic, shock absorbent gloves.
Grant.
He broke his.
What'd you say?
He had multiple surgeries. He had a lot of broken bones, right?
Yeah. He got like in his hand, I forgot which one. One of them had like a lot, like multiple broken bones. Like one bone was like shattered or something like that. But his hands are greatly damaged to the point where, unless modern technology prevails, you know, to a point where you can literally give people new hands, he's gonna have like messed up hands when he gets older, you know. And then when you're a boxer, that happens to him, you know, to the point where you're in pain all day, every day. He has to do exercises, you know, for his hands alone every day. But see, that's not the stuff you're going to see on All Access because that's a legitimate weakness. You know, it's not that Floyd Mayweather can't knock someone out. Of course he can throw his punches with all his might, but when you're a guy that's messing your hand up every single fight, you're not going to, and you know that you have to fight. You cannot afford to take a year off because of a hand injury. You know, you got to be smart ahead. But see, those are the things that people don't look like. Now, as far as this rematch is concerned, I'll get it like this. Hey man, what time is it where you at? Put that kid to bed. But when you look at the situation with who's that with that baby? Is that you, David?
No. My baby's too asleep.
All right,
my fault.
but listen, let me say this: like when you look at this rematch from Marcos Maidana, people want to easily say, yeah, you know, he's going to knock him out. I mean, Mayweather's going to beat him more cleanly and decisively this time. Yes, that should be the case. Yes, that's what Mayweather is supposed to do. Now, I did, you know, controversial videos unintentionally. People thought I was trying to make controversy. But remember, I do my videos almost immediately after the fight goes off, so there's very little time for me to bullshit and start coming up with scenarios. So when I said that I thought that Marcos Maidana had a draw with Mayweather, but I could also see how fans say Mayweather won, and then Maidana won, you can say all you want about all those missed punches, 600 plus missed punches that Marcos Maidana missed, but you have to also use your common sense and knowledge to think like, well, you got some old people in the audience using CompuStats. They don't call them CompuBox on Showtime. I believe they're CompuStats. If you don't know what that is, it's like a remote contraption jigger where the person's got to sit there and look at all the punches and be like, jab, left hand, look, power punch. You know, you got to sit there. So when you're seeing the way Marcos Maidana was throwing those punches, for example, it was one punch that wasn't a punch. I believe it was in like the second or third round where Maidana hit him, but he didn't hit him with the punch. He hit him with like the elbow. You know, and then you see, go check it out on All Access, the episode, and you see, like, you know, Robert Garcia and Alex Reed's like, oh, he hurt him, but it was really the elbow. So when I look at stuff like that, I ask myself, well, did you count that as a punch? Old people in the audience with the CompuStats thing? And the reason why I say it was a draw, because of one thing that people forgot to address when it comes to a fight like that. Judges are supposed to score a fight off of ring generalship too. You're supposed to be, when you look at who was under duress, when you look at who was fighting whose fight, what did you see? You didn't see Floyd Mayweather keeping Maidana in the middle of the ring, making Maidana fight Floyd's fight. Floyd allowed Maidana to get Floyd on the ropes, and what does that mean? Oh, he's making him fight like that. But then in the sport of business and boxing, and when you're undefeated and you're a guy like Floyd Mayweather, boxers judge off of that, and many other judges may have scored the fight differently. But for you to say to fans, yeah, I did that on purpose, meaning giving yourself a chance to lose, because you should know that judges are going to score the fight of, oh, well, why is he letting Marcos Maidana control the tempo? You know, that's how you score fights. But like I said, people are saying this fight is going to be, you know, this fight is going to be easier for Floyd. Floyd's just going to keep it in the middle of the ring. Of course you can say that, but this is a man who told us many times that he don't want to get hurt. So why put himself in that situation? Now, even though he was blocking a lot of those punches, and like I said in another video, that this man is a defensive wizard, he is a defensive specialist. You know, even though he's done all of that, still there's some issues that need to be addressed. Like,
he don't look the same though.
What you say?
He don't look like he used to. He don't look like he used to. You know, like you can see he's still real good. You know, obviously the best, but you can see he's been decreasing. You know, he's not the same as he used to be. Like,
and then those fights are getting closer.
Yeah, the reflex is not there like it used to be, and if you don't got the game on time, he's gonna get caught. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna get tested for real.
No, you know what I think it is? I think it's like this. he can't use those reflexes and the foot movement at the same time. Like with Canelo, he used a whole bunch of foot movement. He didn't have to use as much reflexes as far as upper body movement and head movement. Why? Because Canelo was just too slow, and Canelo was trying to box him. But with Maidana, to be able to use that foot movement and the head movement, he could have been open for one of those awkward hooks. So it was like, all right, I got to stand here and dodge all this shit and then get out. Or if he was, if he was using the foot movement, to like dip and duck and under punches. If you notice about this fight, the first fight, he wasn't dipping or ducking under the punches. He was like, blocking them and parrying them. He wasn't taking a chance of getting hit with one of those awkward, like right hooks. With Marcos Maidana or probably getting, kicked in the face or something. So with this fight, Floyd, we know Marcos Maidana most likely is going to have some issues with weight, issues with stamina. It's known when Alex Ariza leaves camps, that there's some issues with the fighters, like they don't never get themselves back together. Alex Ariza is a shady character. Let me just address that. He's a shady character, but now it's got to be addressed that Marcos Maidana has one of the pioneers of modern steroids in his camp. So even though the guy has been cleared and he's done his time and everything, it's still shady because this is a man himself who has said, me and Mr. Victor C, this is a man himself who has said that the best strength and conditioning coaches, and I'm not quoting, but this is basically what he said. The best strength and conditioning coaches are paid the most money to get away with shit, basically. To say, okay, you can take this and this will give you an extra boost, unfair advantage, but they don't test for that, and all this kind of stuff. That's what they get paid the most bucks for. So, when you look at like guys like Brandon Rios, Mir Khan, who else? Julio Cesar Chavez,
Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah, Manny Pacquiao. There's been issues or questions about the fighters after he was no longer with them, and also during what can be considered somewhat of a prime of their career, because Alex Ariza was with Chavez Jr. for Sergio Martinez and got him into phenomenal shape and got him into the point where he was able to rehydrate up 30+ pounds effectively. So after that, Chavez Jr. didn't do that shit no more. So when you look at Amir Khan, once Amir Khan was no longer with him, he was no longer with Amir Khan started getting knocked down even more. He was already, all wobbling all over the ring before. It got worse for him. Who else? When you look at Pacquiao, now I'm not counting the Pacquiao knockout because that was a crazy knockout. Anybody's going to sleep from that. They saying that it was like Pacquiao got hit with a truck in the face. Like ESPN did like this whole site breakdown. So I'm not talking about the knockdown, but I'm talking about the punching power. Manny Pacquiao's body. Now as you know, I'm a Manny Pacquiao fan, but see, I'm a realist. I'm not going to be like, the F word, what they call Floyd Mayweather fans, or the P-tards, what they call, Manny Pacquiao fans. I got to keep it 100. It's just that, like, a lot of times when I do my videos, like I said, I do them live and uncut, and I don't fully address things as thoroughly, as I want to. But as far as steroids and boxing is all over the place. That's why when it comes to testing, you got to do it. Now, there are certain boxers that I think never did anything because of their character and the integrity of what they showed us. At one fight I'm going to point out is a guy like Canelo. Now, you think a guy like Canelo's juicing, a guy like Canelo who will say, yeah, I fight Laura, even though I think, people think I'll lose to him. Canelo just seems like a real humble dude, and he's got like he's got a lot of honor in him. Honor in him that you can't see or you don't see in boxing like today. So, guys like that, I don't think it's juicing. But then you got guys, like when you openly run from tests, it's like, well, why? Like why? Now, at one point in time, I could understand, that
Ariza worked with Pacquiao. How many fights did he do with him?
How many fights was he what?
How many fights did Ariza do with Pacquiao? Like,
I don't
did a few fights.
I don't remember.
Like 3 or 4 fights.
But I know the strength and conditioning coach he's using now was the original guy, that he had before Ariza. But if I'm correct, Ariza came around when Pacquiao moved up those two weight classes. Now, if you go back and you watch when Pacquiao was fighting at 130 pounds, 135 pounds, one thing about Pacquiao today and then is that he always came into the ring between 147 and 150 pounds. And that's been for like the last 9 years almost. He's been coming into the ring the same weight. So you also have to look at, he's been catch-weighting people too. So, you have to look at the other side and say, well, he may have been on steroids, he may have not been. You can say, well, he committed a whole bunch of sins, now he cleaned up his life, he's not doing none of that no more. You can say that, okay. But he was catch-weighting people, and then, he wasn't really knocking people out for real, outside of what Ricky Hatton, who we knew could be knocked out. I mean, he beat the hell out of Cotto. I mean, that just, Antonio Margarita, I mean, he just smashed his face and pretty much ended his career. But the whole steroids thing got out of control when you have someone who's at the top of the food chain, Mayweather, he could say something and it's going to travel fast. Once he started talking about it, and him being at the level he is on that big of a scale, it started spreading around real fast. But Olympic-style drug testing is really not Olympic-style drug testing. All fighters should be tested 24 years round, in my opinion. And what I've learned is that there are promoters that don't care if you juice or not. They're like, don't get caught, that's on you. I promote the fight, let you fight. Don't let me know about it, don't get caught. Simple as that. And that's what I'm noticing promoters doing, because how do you not know your fighter is doing something he's not supposed to be doing? That should be your job as a manager and as a promoter to make sure your fight is clean. Also,
that's obvious too.
What you say?
Marquez is obvious.
See, the Marquez situation, it's just so super obvious. But just like everybody else, he never failed the test. That's what we can say. He never failed the test. But when you have the understudy of pretty much the pioneer of modern steroids today as your strength and conditioning coach, and also this man is banned from every single major sport except for boxing, it raises questions. Marquez, at the end of Pacquiao 3. What you say?
I read a long report on the radio. He's got a long story, man, and this shit, man, crazy.
I sat up for 4 hours after Marquez versus Alvarado. 4 hours. And I'm talking about, I did so much research on steroids. I looked up so many names. When I seen that acne, and I saw that it wasn't on his chest. I take a steroids called prednisone because I have problem breathing, so it's an anti-inflammatory, but it's still a steroid. Now, what it does is, with also other performance-enhancing drugs, I forgot what it was, but it stops, it's secreting something out of your skin. So when you see acne on somebody's face, all right, cool, See acne on somebody's chest, I get a little acne on my chest, all right, cool. But when you start seeing like alligator skin, like acne all up the arms, on the chest, on the back, on the neck, and then you wearing, during fight week, it's hot as shit over there in the desert when he was fighting. What was that? They was in Vegas or they was in Cali when he fought Alvarado? Where was he at when he fought Alvarado, Marquez? Anybody remember where that was?
What you said?
When Marquez fought Alvarado, where were they fighting at? Was it in Vegas?
Oh, that was.
Well, the point I'm trying to make
is I can't remember.
The point I'm trying to make is I remember that he had on he had on like a sweatsuit. He had a sweatsuit on, full jacket, but then he had this big ass bubble vest over it. Then he wore like the same shit to the weigh-in, got on the weigh-in and the scale, you know, weighed in and then put his shit on immediately. Now go back and watch this stuff. Then after the fight, now when do you ever hear this unless a fighter goes to the hospital? After the fight with Alvarado, he says, fuck that, no post-fight press conference. I'm not asking answering no questions. I don't want nobody to ask me what about this acne and all that, or Marquez, what is that on your arms? And, you know, he just completely got out of there. The fact that he's the #1 contender, see, Bob Arum bent him over the barrel. Bob Arum said, okay, you want to fight Pacquiao again for that 5th fight? You ain't going to fight nobody else, and I'm going to make sure you don't get Bradley again. You know, here, you fight Alvarado, and you become the #1 contender for Pacquiao. So you see how he tried to do that? He made the Pacquiao Alvarado fight. I mean the Marquez Alvarado fight. You know, #1 contender for the Pacquiao title that he had just won from Timothy Bradley. You know, and Marquez just basically said, no, okay, Pacquiao got that belt, not Brad. Okay, you know what? Fuck that belt. I don't want it. You know, I'm not fighting Pacquiao again. And, you know, Nacho, his trainer, is like, we don't want no parts of him. You know, and Nacho in his office, you know, at his gym, he got a picture of Pacquiao laying right on the canvas. You know, that's the memory that they want to keep. But also, you know, Marquez is not entitled to get Pacquiao no rematch. Not at all. And Marquez can say, you know, all he want, you know, as long as you don't fight Pacquiao again, then listen, I put him to sleep. I beat him, you know.
He wants to just stay with that memory. He don't want to change that because he knows if he goes back, Pacquiao is going to come crazy this time. I'm telling you, man. He's just going to try to eat him up, you know, and he might, obviously, I think in the last fight, he almost got knocked out before he knocked out Pacquiao. You know what I'm saying? So if they fight again, it's going to happen, and he don't want to risk that.
Bob Arum give him freaking 20 mil. He'll fight Pacquiao for sure.
Yeah, but see, that's a form of ducking too when you overprice yourself. Bob Arum, come on, Bob Arum wasn't giving him no fucking 20 million. Soon as Marquez said 20 million to Arum, you know, Arum was like, the money just isn't there, and he probably just walked right away from him and told him to his face like, you're not getting 20 million.
Marquez worth freaking 5 million max.
Well, see, you also got to look at the numbers too. Pacquiao was guaranteed 20 million for at least 20 million. You know, they're saying 26, but I'm going to say at least 20 million for the rest of his contract each fight. Where's the money going to come from? Like, realistically, you know, if you're going to get Pacquiao 20 million, then give Marquez another 20 million. The pay-per-view, don't get me wrong, it'll do over 1 million buys. I'm going to say like 1.2, 1.3, maybe. You know, maybe, but it will do over 1 million. But realistically, if you do the math for the pay-per-view buys at $75 to $85 a piece, you know, and then if you do, you know, the math of the ticket gate sales, you know, and Pacquiao versus Bradley too was Pacquiao's lowest gate in years, you know, so, you know, giving two people $4 million is just not there. Marquez knows that, Bob Arum knows that, and the fight's never going to happen. I mean, honestly, I don't see the fight ever happening.
I mean, how's the whole situation with the China thing? How's the revenue coming in there?
Well, see, here's the thing. The revenue in China, you get tax breaks. You get tax breaks, especially if you're not American. Manny Pacquiao is not American. Bob Arum is a former attorney. You know, Bob Arum, like I said earlier in the video, has vast connections globally. You know, when I say, you know, you have to look. I know people are going to say, oh, he's in bed with Bob Arum. No, I'm educated. You know, if you do research on Bob Arum, that man's global connections with politicians, you know, people in the field of medicine and law enforcement. You know, he got Diego Chavez. You know how hard it is to get somebody over here, especially with all that stuff going on down in the border with all the kids coming over here and everything. You know how hard it is to get, like, listen, you know, like, I want my fighters got to be fighting this week. You know, we can't have this week till next week. Al Haymon couldn't do that for Carlos Molina. You know, so what I'm saying is fighting in Macau. Macau is if I'm correct, $49 billion versus like $8 billion, you know, per year. Like $49 billion a year, and I believe that's the number, around that much. In casino revenue, gambling revenue in Macau versus $8 billion of Las Vegas. Do you know? So basically, Macau is like pretty much just a little over 5 times, pulls in 5 times as much money as Las Vegas. Floyd Mayweather, if he fought in Macau, Floyd Mayweather would be making a shitload more money.
Yeah, he would.
Because Macau is the gambling capital of the world. Las Vegas is just the gambling capital of just the United States. Just the United States. You know, we're talking about the world. The world, not just this one continent, the world. So, a Pacquiao pay-per-view can do 500,000 pay-per-view buys, and Pacquiao and Arum and all parties still get their money. You know, it's a reason why Pacquiao was fighting every other fight in Macau. You know, that's why they can take a gamble and have fans be kind of pissed of him fighting our Chris Algieri. You know, now here's my take on that situation. I look at it like this. If you know how the boxing landscape is, if you know how it is with Haymon fighters and Golden Boy fighters and all that stuff we talked about earlier, we know that he can only fight certain fighters. So when it came to Chris Algieri, it's like, okay, Pacquiao can fight at 140 if he wants to. So have that 140-pound current champion come up and beat him and send him back down. He's still going to keep his belt. People wanted Danny Garcia to fight Floyd Mayweather, similar situation, outside the fact that Danny Garcia had a better resume. You know, but we were either going to see that, and they wanted Ruslan Provodnikov, but Freddie Rhodes told Ruslan Provodnikov, no, you're not fighting him. You know, because, I mean, he's training them both. You know, so now you got Provodnikov in a situation where he's looking kind of stupid because, see, with Freddie Roach training him, he didn't have the aggression in him. Freddie Roach don't tell his fighters, like, go out there and fuck him up. You got to go out there. Freddie Roach is like, go get him, son, and all that kind of stuff. No, you got to get in their faces. You know, because Provodnikov just didn't have a drive in him. He just didn't have it. But I'm wrapping up in 10 minutes. So what y'all going to talk about before I bounce?
Man, we should get back to Danny Garcia, man. That's what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah. Well, what about him?
What do you think?
Who was that? Peterson or Herrera? Peterson, Herrera, or Matisse?
Well, he got unfinished business with freaking Herrera, so I think he should take Herrera. We all know he's not, but I mean,
get Herrera. See, people think that. See, he can't just jump. Herrera can fight at 147 too, so he can't just move to another division, 147, and think he's still going to be ducking Herrera. It's not going to happen. Herrera is also getting at him on social media, like, "Yo, come get me." You know, and
yeah,
I respect a fighter like Mauricio Herrera because why? Because just like a Marcos Maidana, he was always somewhat of an underdog in all of his major fights. And he always found a way to win. And he's one of those type of fighters that gets better as they get older, like a Carl Froch or Marcos Maidana and, you know, a Mauricio Herrera. They get better as they get older. Jesus Soto Carras was doing something similar. You know, Orlando Salido. You know, these are guys, you know, that'll have losses, but from those losses they get better. You know, but Danny Garcia, the Lamont Peterson thing, I think they should just drop it. I think Danny Garcia should be back in the ring. I'm going to say it's August. He should be back in the ring. It's not going to be late December. It's going to be sometime before December 20th. You know, either then or first thing in January. You know, because he's got to get away from this whole cherry shit immediately because people, they're not satisfied with the Rod Salka thing. He did in there and did exactly what he was supposed to do against Rod Salka, but people are not satisfied. You No, I'm glad that he got the Rod Salka situation just completely out of there and just went out there and demolished him like he was supposed to.
Man, if Danny Garcia went 12 rounds with Salka, that would have been some big problems. Tell me now.
That's why I had the cherries. I was gonna be like, listen, Danny, I can't. It's nothing I can say.
You know what I'm saying? I'm saying, I got a question. What do you think is going to be the surprise for me, for Mayweather? Like, I'm interested in knowing what's the big.
I think it's going to be what I think is going to be is going to be what is this? Oh, my bad. Hold on.
Pacquiao.
No, I think it'll be. I think it's going to be him saying, "Okay, I'm officially Mayweather Promotions now."
That's a surprise.
Yeah, it probably is. It probably is because he's going to try to do some promotion on his own, make his own money, be his own boss.
That comment a few days ago about Mayweather Pacquiao 2015, what like that.
Oh yeah, well see, listen.
Yeah.
It's stuff going on that I don't really want to I don't really want to go out there and necessarily say it right now because I'm investigating. But see, what I did, what I try to tell y'all I do is I don't know if I know some of y'all on my Facebook, but if you go look at my friends list, you'd be surprised some of the people that are there. What you say? I ain't hear nothing.
You saying repeat what you said? You got disconnected.
Well, to start off where I was before, who the fuck is calling me this late? Who calls from private numbers still? Who answers private calls? No, yo, I got stalkers, man.
Jesus.
But when you wait, I forgot what I was talking about.
What you said a few days ago.
Oh yeah. Well, what I was saying is if you go look at my Facebook page, you look at my friends list and everything like that, I get information from people that are actually right there next to the boxers. So even so, it might be I use the same I say the same way in all my videos. It'd be just some regular dude that probably sweep up the gym. It'd be like a guy who just gather all the spit buckets. But it's people that are actually close to the fight.
Yeah,
what you say?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they're around the situation, so you get insights.
But you'll be surprised how much insider information you get out of on just some random shit. I get a message saying, yeah, such and such fighting. Okay, all right. I'll tell you the situation. The Adrian Broner versus Emmanuel Transformer fight. I forgot his name and I always forget his name, but this guy just feeds me information all the time, and his predictions and his fights are always right. So basically, he puts on my page and sends me an inbox of fights that's going to happen. And after a while, I used to doubt him, but then he's always right. And I always get the information 2-3 weeks before. But see, the way I do my videos is I twist everything around into my own words, so I don't get caught up in a situation where I'm putting somebody out there they be like, oh, there must have been you that told him that, So I try to maneuver it, put it the best way I can lyrically to make sure that it really can't really trace back to nobody. So my system has been working, but when it comes to get back to the question, the Manny Pacquiao Floyd Mayweather May thing. I can't run with it until after Cotto fights his next fight. And I explained that earlier in the video because after Cotto fights his next fight, we'll have a better understanding what the next date for Cotto is going to be. If the next date for Cotto is going to be for May of 2015, then we'll know. If you don't know, Bob Arum and Cotto, even though Cotto's not under contract, like I said earlier, they're working together for the next 2 fights. Pacquiao's fighting Macau in November, then he's coming back in April and May to fight. So you can't really talk about the situation. I have people saying, yo, it's I'm saying it's closer than ever. It's just a very sensitive situation, and I'm paraphrasing, but I was told that the fight is closer than ever, but it's a sensitive situation. You know, especially with Mayweather and Mayweather Promotions. Why? Because if that fight would happen, they need a buffer. And right now, Oscar De La Hoya is trying to be the buffer, but Leonard Ellerbe and Floyd Mayweather don't fuck with Oscar De La Hoya as far as they don't respect him. So there's a beef or a rift right there between Al Haymon and Bob Arum, and you can see it all over the sport to where their fighters just don't fight each other. There's something right there, and in order for it at the end, it can't start with small fights. You know, and the only reason and it can't start with small fights. It has to happen with the big one first. In order for us to get fights like Timothy Bradley versus Marcos Maidana, you know, or Robert Guerrero versus a Brandon Rios, you know, or Ruslan Provodnikov versus Lamont Peterson. You know, in order for us to get fights like that, we have to have Mayweather versus Pacquiao first. You know, that has to happen. If it doesn't happen, you know, I mean, like really,
Yep.
you know, like you can't make up fights. You know, and the way I feel about, you know, like Bob Arum and Al Haymon working together, you know, the only way they've been able to work together has been through purse bids. So if you notice, like when it came to the Vasyl Lomachenko, that was the closest that we ever got in a while to having that. Where Vasyl Lomachenko had to go to uncharted waters over there to Showtime Boxing. He's an HBO top-ranked pure Bob Arum fighter. In only his third fight,
Yep.
he has to go over to Showtime and fight one of Al Haymon's most prized prospects that he's been grooming for so many years in Gary Russell Jr. and take the belt. But see, that had to go to a purse bid that ended at the very last minute for a very small amount of money. You know, so it's just so many things written over the sport that says like, yo, these guys just don't. Obviously, they don't get along. You know, obviously Al Haymon and Bob Arum, they can't get along. They can't get to a point where Al Haymon being a manager advisor and to call up Bob Arum and say, listen, I want such and such. I want Adrian Broner to fight Brandon Rios. That was a fight, you know, they was talking about before, but we know that couldn't happen because of the issues. But they can't get to a point where they can get on the phone and negotiate or talk about anything. But see, Bob Arum is not being backed into a corner because he's putting on the hardest fights for his fighters that he can because that's all he has. So whereas in Al Haymon fans are getting sick of like, yo, we see what you're doing. You're not letting your top guys fight your top guys. You know, we see what you're doing. So on both ends, it's getting to a point where boxing fans are suffering and they're getting pissed off, and you know, and boxing fans are starting to react. I mean, let's talk about it. Streaming is getting out of control.
It's crazy, but I'll tell you, man, I've never seen fans so rebel like lately, man. Like they've been getting to these boxers, man, and they're gonna have to come up with something because fans is just not taking it no more. Like sales are going down.
Yeah, pay-per-view's not reaching 1 million no more.
I mean, when
they can't do something because fans are really, you know, now with this social media, all this tweeting and shit. You know what I'm saying? They get to you, man, and
yeah.
How confident you gotta be, but you see all these cherries on your page, bro. It's gonna get to you. You feel me?
Listen, it got so bad that it's so bad that they dislike the Danny Garcia weigh-in video. I'm not talking about my video, but the actual Showtime weigh-in. They're just showing you the weigh-in. Like, why are you disliking the video? You hate Danny so much, you go see his music videos. His music videos used to have some positive reception, but now everything's disliked. You know, everything Danny Garcia, people just turned their backs on him to the point where he got to a point where he just said, I don't pick my fights, my manager do. You know, like he just got so pissed off, you know, that he just, you know, had to get it off his chest. Because he was in a situation before where he was such a fan favorite, you know, an underdog, you know, and overcoming the odds to now just completely vilified and called a cherry-picking bum, who always been a bum. And it's crazy. I'm thinking, like, how did he just turn into that all of a sudden? But see, that's why you gotta continue to satisfy your fans. You gotta continue to satisfy your fans.
It's crazy because right after the fight, they ask him about fighting Danny. He wants to say he want to fight him, but he's kind of thinking like, why am I trying to say the right things? They asked Danny. Danny says the same thing. He's trying to fight him, but he's really being nice about his words. Like they all trying to not hurt Al Haymon and not make the wrong decision when they speak. It's crazy, man. It's like they brainwash. Everything is
everything is scripted. Just like the things, they don't even say, these fighters don't even talk about, like other fighters anymore. If you notice, they don't say like, I definitely want to fight this person. For example, tonight, in particular, Danny Jacobs. He did something that's somewhat rare. What did he say? Like, yes, I want Peter Quillen next. And tonight, after he beat Jared Fletcher, he said, yeah, well, I want Peter Quillen next. Simple as that. He didn't say, oh, well, I'm gonna go back. We're gonna talk to my team, and we're gonna see what my team wants to do, my management team, and whoever they set up, like he didn't just tell us like just some regular ass shit. He told us like who he wanted next. Unlike a lot of fighters, what did they say?
Maybe because he's not an Al Haymon fighter.
A lot crazy, man. Like, not to go off the stuff going and Shannon Frank shit that just went down. When he went and took his meal and ate it and all this shit. I love all that shit. You know what I'm saying? That's real boxing. That's like back in the day. These people now, I don't know what's wrong with them. This new breed is crazy.
Yeah, it's too. The politics in boxing is out of control, and it's gotten to a point where it's almost brainwashing. Because it's like we're being force-feed stuff, and they're telling us stuff and people are really believing it. Like all that crap about people really not understanding that Floyd Mayweather wasn't his own boss. It was the gimmick. It's all a plan. The money team, the life and everything is all a plan. It's all a gimmick. It's the characters with the brand.
Of course, you can't be the money man, the money team, and have a boss. You feel me? It just don't look right. You can't sell it that way.
Yeah, but see what happened? He got exposed, and I'm calling it, and just like other people, outside of myself, are calling it when he left Golden Boy. Automatically, the night he left, I did a video like, "Where you gonna go? You don't got no promoter's license. Who gonna promote the fight? Who you gonna go?"
Should have went with Top Rank.
But listen, you know what happened? Like, if he did try to go to another promoter, let's say if he went to an Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren or Goosen or whoever, I'm just saying any other promoter, they're gonna say, "Oh yeah, Floyd, we promote your next fight." But what about Pacquiao? They want to guarantee on that. They're like, what about Pacquiao? Because everybody wants to make that fight, and he got put into a situation where he said that shit. He ain't think that shit. That was some shit he said and didn't call up Al Haymon. Where he said, "I'm dropping Golden Boy as my promoter." Al Haymon probably was like, "Why would you say some dumb shit like that?" And if you notice, that's what Floyd does when it comes to the T.I. video where he tried to lie and say, "Yeah, they think I said I was fucking his wife." Like when he tried to clean that whole situation up. So when he went back to Golden Boy, it was like, why were people surprised? He couldn't get his promoter's license. Now, it's not that he couldn't get it, but it was just like, looking at the time frame, and I'm very meticulous when it comes to stuff like that. Looking at the time frame and when it was, I'm like, it's not going to be enough time for him to get his license. And then that date for September the 13th is already set. He's in a contract with Showtime, and Showtime has executives up the top that are expecting that Mayweather money to come in. What if that Mayweather fight doesn't happen? Remember all those subscriptions that Showtime has driven by Floyd Mayweather. So that fight, he had to get a promoter. He had to go back to Golden Boy. And guess what they did? All of a sudden, during the press and media tour, Oscar De La Hoya is nowhere to be found. He's on vacation. The biggest fight of the year, is the president, CEO supposed to be taking vacation? No, that was the deal. Why? Because Oscar said, okay, we got Floyd back as under our brand now. Cool. I don't have to be around. We're gonna make our bread off of it. We knew he was coming back anyway. Oscar was a side in that situation because he knew Floyd had nowhere to go. He played it humble in the media, like, I want to continue to work with Floyd in the future, and I hope he knew Floyd had nowhere else. So basically,
money maker.
So basically, I look at it like the deal probably was, okay, well, listen, like Oscar, we got Floyd back. We know y'all got bad blood, but just go on vacation or something. Get this press conference out the way just to keep everything cool, like no bad blood. Oscar probably was like, we got him back, cool. I don't need to be around. We getting our money, and laughing in the back because he won on the end. He won. He got Floyd back, still making money. Oscar checks say Golden Boy Promotions, for Floyd Mayweather, which to me, I don't know, that makes you an employee. Floyd Mayweather makes you an employee. And then he got the nerve to get mad at guys like Radio Raheem for asking the question. This event is promoted by Golden Boy Promotions. Remember that question? If you ain't see that interview, he getting mad at Radio Raheem, and saying no, don't do that. But the banner clearly says Golden Boy Promotions and Mayweather Promotions. I'm sure he fought so hard for those banners not to say nothing with Golden Boy on it. But come on, man, they wasn't trying to hear none of that, yo. They wasn't trying to, and that's what a smart businessman is going to do. Floyd, like Mayweather Promotions, is in a situation where they didn't have the things already established in place, like the infrastructure. Golden Boy already had all that stuff in place, all the licenses and sanctions and everything that they all needed, but Mayweather Promotions does not have all of those things. So next year they're focusing on having those things, but you have to ask yourself a real big question and asking, like, well, why wasn't this stuff in place before? Why wasn't when 50 Cent got his promoter's license, Mayweather didn't say, yo, let me get him on. Just to have it, not to use it, but just to have it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'm trying to get you to understand, like, the thought process. Why does it have to come to a situation where you racing around the clock, to try to get a promoter's license? And that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, who is really running this company? Like, who is the brains behind this? Al Haymon is a very smart man, but is he keeping Mayweather at bay for a reason? Now, we've heard all the things about, when something goes wrong in Mayweather life, he get confused, and the first thing he has to do is call Al Haymon. We know that already. But hold up, let me see what I'm doing. But
Still here?
Yeah, I'm here. But
How many more fights he's got in his contract with Showtime after Maidana? No, how many more? Like 2 more, right?
You got Guerrero, you got Canelo, you got Maidana, and then Maidana again. Yeah, after Maidana, 2 more. No, wait. 6 fights, 30 months. Yeah, 2 more. 2 more. Now that's what I was saying. Like, if he beats Maidana, he'll be what is it, 47-0. Then 2 more fights, he'll be to end his contract. If he wins, he'll be at 49-0. But if he were to fight Pacquiao, like I said, it should be logically his next fight, because he wants his last fight with Showtime to possibly be a rematch if he loses, or a send-off fight. I don't think that he will fight Pacquiao in his last fight or for his 50th win. It just doesn't make sense. Now, at this point in time, Floyd is A-side. We know that if Floyd wants to do business, he has to do business like a businessman. And if he doesn't, Bob Arum doesn't want to work with him unless he sits down and all that. Bob Arum wants to do business the old-fashioned way. Floyd Mayweather just doesn't have intentions on doing that, period. Floyd Mayweather wants to call the shots, period. He doesn't want to give any advantage to Bob Arum in any way, shape, or form, or not even an advantage. He doesn't even want to, he just wants to dictate everything 100%. But I done stayed here a little too long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say please subscribe. What I do is I cover every single major fight live. A lot of y'all got cut off, but listen, I got to go anyway. So like I said, I'll be right back next week, a little earlier next time for Sean Porter versus Kell Brook. Get it popping. But spread the word. See, what I want is I want to get like a guaranteed, definite group of people in here, and also I'm going to add some boxers too if they're going to be up late. I want to boxing personalities. I got an exclusive phone line for the show. I'm going to be giving out for people to call. I may even start doing some of these shows in the daytime. Google Hangout, like like during like a reasonable time during a weekday, maybe like the day of the weigh-ins or the final press conference or something like that, like when the fight's buzzing. But there are plans, and I want to say thank you and please subscribe, and shout out to Real Combat Media, as I talked about earlier, and GTM Sports Banners, and of course Into the Arena, because I'm still over there. So it's no point in being upset and bitter and all that. Like, it's still basically, even though I'm on my solo venture, I still have a lot invested over in that channel. TstreeT Controversy,
Right.
TstreeT Controversy Live.